Here's an example of a couple designs that I designed in Cubot and stitched out on a couple of my quilts here. There's a nice border. Today the design we're going to do is much simpler. You have to start small, but let's get this all figured out.
So you're all excited to use your Cubot? If you're like me, you inherited it when you bought a used machine. When I first bought this, I thought Cubot, I don't want to use that. I don't care about computerized quilting, but I had no idea how much I was going to love it. It has really just made things, I love precise. I love precise. And I can create a design to fit in a certain exact area and then just stitch it out. No mistakes, no issues. I can work for hours designing something instead of standing there holding the handles going, oh, what am I going to do here? I think I should do this. I hope I do it well. I can do a little bit of freehand, but honestly, the Cubot has really been where it's at for me so far. I've gotten really detailed on it, and you can too. It's not that hard to learn. I use Windows 10 on a laptop that has a decent amount of memory. It's not, a piece of crap. It's on an old machine because it does take a little bit of memory, but not a ton. You need a mouse. Don't try doing this with the tablet and they say a little pointer you hold no. Mouse, laptop, simple. Let's get into the video where I show you how to do this.
This is the design that I've decided to import into Cubot design software to trace and be able to stitch out on a quilt I'm working on. So I've got it in a snapshot here, and I'm going to go into the Cubot design software. I'm going to say File New, Quick Trace a Picture. Next. View Picture. Well, it already knows where to look. I put it in a folder I usually do this from, so I pick that one and say Next. I don't have to do any rotation or anything like that, so I say Next. It's not going to have any trouble finding the outline, so I just say Next. I want to leave the lines as is. If I wanted to make them a little lighter or a little darker, I could do that here, but that's really not necessary. This is a pretty nice, big, bold design. Now here's where I select the space, the area, exactly what I want to import in. And since it's a design where I could easily do just a portion of it and then rotate to copy and paste, I think that would be a better way to go about it so that I don't have to reformat all of these lines. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. I'm opening this up. I really only want this top corner. Then I say Next. There. Now it's saying what size. It's not really important what you pick here because it's very easy to resize it later. I'm going to say 12 inches just for fun and say left to right for how it's going to decide to trace the design. If I said optimized, it might double over some lines. It does some strange stuff sometimes. So let's say Finish. It's tracing the design, and here it is. If I select all of the blue lines is what they just added. If I select that all, I can move it, and you can see this is my original design. Alt backspace on my keyboard to undo my last move of moving that over there. I'm thinking about it, and it looks like if I drew a line down the middle, this side is exactly like this side. And I want to have to edit these lines as little as possible. So I'm going to cut the design again. I don't need all of this. To scroll in, you can hit Control and then roll your mouse button up, and that increases the size. Let's try to get this cut here. So select outside, select inside, get that knife out, boom, boom, boom. There, it cut it there. I also want to cut it over here. Select the knife, boom, boom, boom. Okay. I'm going to scroll out again. Now when I select nodes, and that's the little dots that connect everything, if I select this, oh good, it is separate from everything else. That's fantastic. I'm going to delete everything else that I do not need. Delete. So I'm selecting it. It shows me the nodes. Then I hit my delete button and they're gone. Don't need this little sucker over here. Goodbye. Rolling out. Oh, don't need that guy down there either. Delete. So now, as you can see, I'm going to say select and move this part just so you can see it. That's all I really need to pretty up, okay? And you can see that, yeah, I'll put it right here where you can see it. So you can see the lines aren't very smooth and nice. They look pretty crummy. It's very easy to fix that. What I'm going to do is move it back over, and it wants to stick to those lines. You'll find when you're moving things around, it wants to come back to where it belongs. I can also edit. I don't have to make it exactly what this is, but I want to kind of sew for now. So I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to roll in, and I want a tight shot of this stuff. And then I'm going to select the button over here that says Edit Nodes. I'm going to touch this. So now you can see the little dots that actually make this line up. You can see up here there's one that's green, and that's where it's going to start. I want it to start right there. You might notice how some of these little nodes, I'm going to move around here so you can really see them. This little guy's square. That little guy's square. These guys are round. Qbot assigns those kind of randomly sometimes, but there is a big difference between them. If I touch on the square ones, they become round. And you'll see the line gets round, okay? It makes it flow. It's very nice. So I can just, I'm clicking on it, holding down the left mouse button, and moving them around. And you can see, it's like spaghetti noodles. You can move them around quite a bit. The smoothest lines have the least amount of nodes. Now, see over here, I'm going to want this to be kind of a sharp point. So I want that node to be square. I'm going to hold down my Control key and then click on that, and boom, he's square. And I'm holding my Control key anytime I want to move him around. Now, I like this nice smooth line, and I do want to delete one of the nodes. If I delete two of these in the middle, it will be a very squared line. It'll change it. But I do want to delete at least one of them. So I'm going to hit this button that is delete nodes. I'm deleting that guy. Boom. See how nice and round the line still is? If I delete this one, then oop, it becomes a point. Oh gosh, I've made a mistake. What I want to do now is hit Alt on my keyboard and backspace. That goes back, undoes what you just did that you didn't like. And I have to do that a lot because I always forget. Once I've deleted one, I forget that I'm not in just edit node, and I'll delete another one accidentally. So now I can just move this guy around till I like the roundness of that line. That looks good to me. Move down a little and just, move the nodes around. That one's just a pain. He's got to go. And I often just delete a whole bunch of them. And because I can move what's left very easily. I'm going to hit Control and scroll out a little bit so I can make it so I can see this entire line here. And of course this little, I'll go back to edit, this little square node, I'm going to move him down to where he belongs. And I can move these other nodes. And it does kind of want to stick to line. It really does want to delete that. That looks great. See that? So now this guy's going to have to move a little bit over there. There aren't a lot of nodes on this side. That's great. And often when you move one, you will have to move the other one after that because it does change the whole line. It can move. If you move this node, you can actually change this roundness also. Here's another square node. We'll move that where we want. Then we'll go back and move this guy a little. That looks good. This guy's got to be square over here. And see how there's just a lot of nodes and it makes it really bumpy and weird. You can delete a few of them. And see how that looks like, oh no, I've, screwed that up. Nope, not really. You can always do like this. Move this guy up here. See how it really wants to stick to that line and how it changed this now. It's not super round. I can do this again. Another note about these square nodes. When stitching in Cubot, when it's zipping around here and then it comes to here, you want it to do a little stop before the thing whips around going in another direction. The square node makes it just stop for an instant and then continue to roll. I didn't know about those for a little while, and boy, my poor Cubot, bouncing all over the place. Often it would like whip the thread, and then I have this nice snarl on the back, and it took me a while to read more of the instructions because I was all happy playing in here. But reading the instructions and learning about the different types of nodes, that has really helped. So I would just continue deleting some of these nodes and then editing how they play together. And that line looks pretty good to me. And delete this node, that one, probably that one, maybe even that one. We'll see. And if not, I can just hit the Alt backspace a bunch of times to go back and re-add all those in. And move these around. So I move them around to a general place, and then I can go back and refine where they're at. That looks pretty good. You can see how simple this is, and it's kind of fun, these little dots and stuff. Let's see. That should be round, so let's make that round. This guy wants to be a little more over there. And see how there just should be one more dot in there. You know what I'm going to do? That guy can go here. I'm taking this guy all the way up here. See that? And in a worse situation where you're like, oh, there just aren't enough nodes, I'm screwed, you could always come over here and say, draw a line. You could, boom, boom, boom. I'm hitting the left mouse button bunch, and then my right mouse button makes the line happen. So now I have more line if I needed it, if there was, reason to add on to it. I'm going to Alt backspace to delete that because I don't actually need it. What is that? Oh, so right mouse button, back that off. So now that I don't want to draw lines anymore, I have to go back and say edit. I see a little dot here I don't like. It was just hanging out. All right, so clicking back on here, I'm going to move this node up here, that node there, this node here. So we're getting this all shaped up pretty quick. Now I've had designs that took forever, just because it was just so complicated, or when it came in, there wasn't just one line over everything. Cubot decided that there should be a whole bunch of lines going back and forth over it, and I've had to just totally scramble a mess and almost recreate something, which isn't that hard, but it takes a little bit of, there's a learning curve to it. Also, I don't bring any like feather designs in, or something that intentionally has to be line sewn, one over another. I find feathers just easier to draw in here, and I will make a video on that. I've done some really awesome feather designs in here that stitched out really well, and took a little doing, and it taught me a lot about Cubot and how this works. All right, we have all of this looking pretty good. What I want to do now, I want to see this without this stuff behind it. It's all selected right now. I can hit Control C, which is copy, and then say File New. Start a new work area. Next. I'm going to say, I don't want to do that. I want to start a new element. That's what this will be. I'm going to say it's, 12 by whatever. Okay, finish. Then I'm in here. I say Control V. That pasted that design in there exactly like I traced it. Without the blue behind it, you can see any little, like, okay, see how this isn't very round down there. Without the line behind it, it's more noticeable. I can edit the nodes a little, make that rounder, and now I say select to make the nodes go away. I still don't like that very much. Maybe that node needs to go away. Let's see. Maybe not. There we go. Okay. There. And I mean, you can edit it to a point right now where it's your own. You can make all kinds of changes in here and or not. Let's see. All right, so this guy looks pretty okay to me. Yeah, I like that. So now we have our design the way we want it, and we are going to multiply it. But first, I think we should twin it and make it a larger part to multiply 4 times. What we'll do first is edit our design size because we don't have enough size inside this space to do what we want to do. So we're going to say Edit, Design Area, and let's make it 20 by 20. Okay, there we go. See this little line? We gotta go. Okay, so we're going to select this guy and go up to the multiply, and we're going to reflect it vertically and say okay. We can grab this guy and move him over, and if you can see how it wants to touch in the middle there, we will bring it right there, and then we'll hit the multiply button again to say yes, that's what we like. Now let's scroll in, and we're going to connect these 2 halves here. So we want to edit the nodes, grab one, I'm going to move it up to that point, grab this one, I'm going to hit Control, move that one up, making that node square, and boom. We now have one piece. We want to reflect this 4 times to make it the square that we originally started with. So we go back to the multiply button, we say reflect 4-way, and hit OK. Then it adds these nice cross lines. Scroll out a little bit, and we'll hit the select and select our original piece and move it up to where you can see them all touching on the corners. This guy might need to move over a little and then down. There, it looks perfect. I hope you can see the reflections on the outside here. We'll hit the multiply button again. And there they all are. So now we'll attach them. First thing I do prior to attaching all of the different units together is to think about where I want the stitching to start and stop. And often I'll pick the top left-hand corner, so we'll begin there. We'll scroll in here. All right, so to have start and stop stitching, I usually add a new line, and I'll show you how this is done. We want to draw a line, so we'll do like boom, 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 boom. Right mouse to create the line. Click Edit Nodes. And I will want that one right where I'm going to start. And I'm going to bring the original start or end point over to match that, and I will make that a square node. Then I will just stick these all along the line. I want to turn around there and head back this way. And stop. All right, then you can massage, the placement of these a little bit just so that, it's right on the line there. And the red node annotates that's the end of the line. And I'm actually going to want it to begin there. So I would go up to Edit. Nope, I go up to Object, Reverse Path. All right, so that just changed the red node to green and put it under the turn point here. We're going to want to do that for this part, which will eventually be the end also. So here we go. We'll draw a line. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. There's your line. Go to Edit Nodes. I want to make this one attached to this one. Make it square. Bring it up to meet the other one. And then we can also set these guys down here. Make that one a turnaround. Okay. So now, I didn't want it to do that. We have a start point and an end point. I think we'll not move that end dot over until we attach the rest because it always wants to attach. So we'll go over here now to our other point that needs to be attached. And it's that simple. You just move the node a teeny bit. Then I'm scrolling down. Here's another node. 2 more nodes. Boom. Those attached. Go over here. Those two are attached. So now the whole piece is attached, and when I bring this end point up here, it won't be so anxious to attach it. See the little X? That's saying, hey, I don't have anybody to attach to, which is absolutely fine. So now we can scroll out and look. And you can see that everybody is all playing together nice. So what we want to do now is see how this will stitch out. Just make sure it just looks right. It's going in the right direction. We're happy with this. So up here, this little blue arrow is the design player. So you click into design player, and then you can click play, which makes it ungodly slow, or you can hit fast forward and makes it a little quicker. And you could see when it began that it was doing the start stop a little bit, and now it's stitching out through the whole thing. And it looks just beautiful. So we don't need to watch the whole thing unless you wanted to. Close. So now all we need to do is save. File, save as, find a place, find a name, save, yes, boom. There's our design. I can now flip this into the Qbot card, plug it into the Qbot, and go stitch it out.
So there you have it. Hopefully that was easy to follow. I'll make some more videos. I promise the feathers video. I know that'll be really popular. I'll get working on that one. You get working on your Qbot design software. Have a great day.